Hey everyone, Todd C. Slater here, the Simple Investor, and I thought I would follow up from last week's mention of cottage country. That's right, vacation properties. Are they a good investment? Is now the time to buy, and should you turn them into rental properties? Well, one big thing, of course, when we start talking about vacation properties, there's all sorts of different ones. We have beachfront properties down south. You can take a look at any of the major lakes having them as well. We've got cottage country cabins, and of course, we can take a look at some of the ski areas. So what makes sense when we start talking about vacation properties, and would they actually make a good investment? Well, for the most part, what we know is that the market has gotten extremely hot in this area. Vacation properties have gone up over the last few months. A lot of reason why is people are just trying to get out of the major urban areas, get away from the cities and someplace that they can go safe. And this is one of the reasons why that we've seen a huge increase in these properties over the last few months. But another thing we need to talk about, of course, is the fact is, are they just good for the family, or can you turn them into rental properties? Now, before we go down the rental property road, let's talk about why they are good for families. There's so much that you can do at some of these vacation properties. If you're on lakefront, obviously people can go water skiing, swimming, and do all sorts of wonderful things outdoors. It actually allows you to detune a little, put the devices away, and actually have some good fun outdoors. Now, this is another reason why the rental market has gone through the roof over the last 6 months in these areas, because everybody wanted to get away from the city. So speaking of rental properties, do they make good rental properties? Well, when we talk about, vacation properties, we have to think about maintenance. So in some of the areas, they're very seasonal. When we talk about down South Florida, we've got a lot of people that are buying, obviously, waterfront properties down there, and they're not quite the same seasonal adjustments as far as vacation. In fact, the winter months are very busy. Sometimes in the summer they can be, but you'll have a little bit of a fall off through the spring and the fall. So can you maintain these properties when they're not at the peak of their rental market? Now, the other problem, obviously, with the South is that we've seen a lot of major storms coming through. Insurance is getting a little bit more difficult, and damage is becoming very extensive to a lot of these properties. When we go further north, though, when we start talking about some of the cabins on the water or some of the cottages on the lakefronts, these areas, they're pretty much more of a 1 to 2 season in most cases. There are some 4-season properties out there, and these are the properties that people will use throughout the winter. Keep in mind, though, if we're talking about cottages, if you're going to have a 4-season, you've got to have, heated water source, got to have heat all year long, and you have to be very careful at access and what happens when things start to freeze over. So some of these properties are best suited just to be shut down after the summer months. So does this mean that you turn your family cottage into a rental property? I caution people from doing this because depending on how you want to set up your rental, people will come in for either long weekends, maybe a week, sometimes even a month. But the one thing that we know about vacation properties are they get a lot of damage done to them. As much as you can turn around and put in your agreement that people are going to take good care of these properties, there is still a lot of wear and tear on vacation properties. People come in, they use and abuse for the first week, then they're gone. Then you turn it over again. So you have a lot of cleaning, you have a lot of repairs. So do vacation properties make good rentals? They can, but you're going to have to adjust your numbers. You have to think about seasonal rentals and what it can do for your income. Now, there are people out there that are renting into these areas, and they will turn around and they get the high numbers in the summer, and then throughout the rest of the year, they'll take a little bit less. These are short-term rentals, and you want to make sure that you're able to get the tenant to move out before the peak season, so then you can get the higher income from the rental for the peak seasons. So again, summer months, they're pretty much a highlight when we talk about cottage country. You can take a look at June, July, August, and into September. 4 months kind of maximum when we talk about 1 or 2 season properties. When we take a look at the winter properties, this is one of the things that a lot of people, they push real hard coming up into Christmas. People like being in the snow belt during the Christmas months and through into New Year's, and then into January, February, and March potentially if you're close to a ski area. Other than that, you're going to have some drop off in most vacation properties if you're in the north. And when we talk about things like April, May, not always your peak months, nor will October, November, and just the very beginning of December. So keep this in mind when you're starting to do cash flow. A lot of times people are saying, hey, listen, but we're getting huge monthly rents. Yeah, you are. And right now, with the price increase, we've seen vacation properties go anywhere from 15 to 20% in 2020. That's a huge number, and they are leading the charge as far as real estate pretty much in North America. So, is this the right thing for you to invest in? Well, if the one thing I can tell you as a cottage owner, I would have to say you either have a cottage for you and your family or you have a cottage for rental. It's really hard to cross the line and do it with both. You know what? You have your family pictures up, you've got some special things in your cottage. It's really tough to have strangers come in and rent it. So, my advice to you is you know what? Make sure you cottage for your family or you do a full rental just as an income property. Mixing the two is very difficult and not something I would advise anybody to do. But, anyways, that's just my quick take on vacation properties. Again, lots of opportunities out there. Markets are on the rise. So, you might be just coming into it a little bit at the peak. And we're at the end of one season and we're coming into another season in the South. So, just some quick thoughts for this week. And thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Todd C. Slater, The Simple Investor.